Hot cross bun is a traditional treat made at Easter. I'm going to break down the steps and show you just how easy it is for you to make hot cross buns for your family and loved ones, not just for Easter, for any time that you want. Yeast is a key ingredient for hot cross buns. I like to prove my yeast first to make sure that the yeast is still active. So I put the yeast and a teaspoon of white sugar and some of the warm milk into a bowl and leave for about 5 minutes. I know that the yeast is active when I can see some frothiness. Pour that into your stand mixer with the rest of the warm milk and whisk together so that the yeast is well mixed into the milk. Make sure that you use warm milk. You need some warmth to help activate the yeast. Next, you're going to add the sugar. For this recipe, we're using brown sugar. Add the brown sugar and then add the room temperature butter into the mix. Again, make sure that the butter is nice and soft at room temperature. If you use cold butter, it would affect the consistency of your finished product. One of the reasons why hot cross buns are so delicious is because it's packed full of flavor. Not only do we get flavor from vanilla, we also have a nice blend of different spices that we're going to be adding to the hot cross buns. So I've already added the vanilla. You can use vanilla extract or you can use vanilla bean paste as I've done here. Next, measure out your spices, so your ground cinnamon, allspice and ground nutmeg, and add that into the mixing bowl. Measure out and add your salt into the mixing bowl. Add the eggs into the mixing bowl, and then to help the mixture come together, we're going to add a little bit of the flour into the mixing bowl. Not all of it, just a little bit, and this will help bind things together. So I've started mixing things up using the whisk attachment of my stand mixer just until the flour is incorporated. Then I'm going to switch to the dough hook. Be sure to give a nice scrape to make sure all the flour is incorporated into the mixture. Next, I'm going to add the dried fruit. You can soak it in hot water for about 10 minutes to be nice and plump. Now you can add the rest of your flour and then mix with the dough hook on low speed until things come together. If you find that your dough is still sticky, you can add a tablespoon of more flour, but you should see that your dough should start to pull away from the bowl. Then it's ready. So now I have a bowl that is nicely oiled, and I'm going to oil my hands so that when I'm taking the dough out, it doesn't stick to my hands. Put it into the bowl and roll around into the bowl so that the whole dough is nicely coated with oil so it doesn't stick to the bowl. And we're going to cover and leave for 1 to 2 hours for the first rise. Lightly grease your cake pan with a small amount of butter all the way around so that it's nicely greased. So this is the first rise. You want to get all the air out of the dough, and you do that by just basically punching down onto the dough until all that air is pushed out of the dough. And then we're going to put the dough onto a non-stick mat and we're going to start to create the rolls. So you want to try as much as possible to have even sizes so that the rolls will look even. I didn't quite achieve that, but that's the whole idea. So I'm using a palette knife just to cut it into 4 pieces, and then I'm going to cut those 4 pieces into 2 to make roughly equal sizes. With each piece, you want to basically roll it in your hand until it's a nice smooth ball, and then you want to pinch the bottom of the ball because that will help get even rise. Once that is done, you want to put it into your cake pan and you repeat those steps until all your dough has been formed into rolls. Next is the second rise, which is about an hour. Now that's been done, we're going to do the traditional cross. So you can do it with icing sugar, but I'm using mine with a mixture of the bread flour. So I'm just mixed bread flour and water together, and you put it into a piping bag. You don't need a piping tip. You just need a piping bag, and you can just snip the end off, and you just pipe across the across the hot cross buns, and it's ready to be baked. And voila, here is the finished product. And the last piece of the puzzle is the delicious orange icing coating. So you're just mixing icing sugar and some orange. You can use fresh orange or orange juice and just generously brush it over your hot cross buns. You want to do this while it's hot, literally straight out of the oven, because the heat that is still there will give you a nice glaze. And here is your yummy hot cross buns. Yay!